How you doing? This is your Sensei Al Bob. It's Saturday morning, 10:30. I woke up with the sunrise. That was quite outstanding. And I'm here at the school, and I'm helping my host put things into order. And there's Daisy barking. And, there's one of you. It's a beautiful day, and the breeze is coming in, and this is kind of what life's about, breathing. That's what it's about. Life is to be experienced. Life is to be appreciated. Life is what it's about. I'm sitting here on the couch. I'm a couch potato, just for the moment, though. Greetings from Ireland. Ah, yes. So, how's Ireland today? Are you out in the hedgerows, in the towns, in the cities? Where are you at? You know, the deep green, I've been there, not Ireland, but my deep green, and right on the squirrely edge of Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia. It's really, I'm like within miles of each of those borders. And I had 3 counties running through my property, and one of them is actually another state. So there are all these ley lines, energetic lines that go through. Oh. I gotta get another pair of glasses. I can't read. That's what. Can you see out there? That's what it looks like at the top of the mountain. I'll be right back. I'm looking for another pair of glasses. I'm back. Okay, let's see. That's a little better. Sunny and crisp, chippy here in the county of Lamar. Senegal. Yep. I'm in the countryside and ready for a stroll. Yep. And that's my. How did your little ceremony go the other week? I think you left to, right? Go find a hedgerow with your friends and start a fire and put a line down your face and one under each eye. 365 megahertz, yep. So, how's the geopolitics in Ireland? Good, good. How was the last week's meeting up? Intention is whenever you come together as a group, good thoughts, good words, good actions, good outcomes. You put those together. Last night, if you go on my channel and see that I had a friend of mine's running for office, and we had a little thing to kick it off. Globalist as it can be. Yeah, that's sad. I mean, I think I told that story, the years I lived in Ireland, it was like, what I loved about Ireland, it was like back in time. A major thoroughfare was like, if a truck and you tried to pass at the same place, you couldn't do it. And, everything was downscaled and everyone saved their money and didn't spend much so they could have enough for a couple of pints in the pub and a pack of cigs and the things that mattered. And they helped each other, and work was something they enjoyed doing. And I lived in this little town. I lived in Dublin, which was like a little town, where I lived in Dublin. Just I was in the area of Trinity, which is like a town unto itself, and just outside of Trinity is that main drag that kind of goes down to a circle that leads to O'Connell Street, but there's another, if you go off another direction, you go another major thoroughfare to where the distillery is, right? And that's a big tourist site. Everybody wants to have some of that Irish whiskey. And there are a number of great pubs around there. And yep, everyone's in debt to the machine. Like I said, when I was there, the early years, so I was there between 66 through 80. And then I didn't come back until I came back in 88. I'll take that back. In 88, I went. And I was there just as Ireland signed the Maastricht Treaty. And I was in Dublin. A friend of mine had a theater company and they got hired. Dublin was celebrating its 2,500th year as a city. And Trinity was even older than that. And he was hired by the city council of Dublin to act he and his theater company acted as all the great Irish bards, and they would just stroll through the streets for a whole year. They did this, pretending to be James Joyce and Byron and you name it, and they were it. And on the birthday, it was just like within a week or two, they signed the Maastricht Treaty. And so at this big whoop-de-doo for the city of Dublin, all the major Irish politicians were there. And again, it was like 88 or 87 or whenever they signed the Maastricht Treaty. And I was going, are you guys really going to do this? You're going to drink the Kool-Aid? You're going to, give up? You fought the Roman Empire for the last 6,000 years and you're going to give up just so you can have cable TV? Really? And these guys had already drank the globalist. They had taken the chip. They were gone. But the lady who was the mayor, she was not signed on for it. She was, telling the people of Dublin that they should like secede from Ireland. Anyway, and then I left, I guess in '88, and I didn't come back till 2005. And that's, it was unbelievable. I got hired to go. This corporate lady wanted to buy up the real estate. She got a good deal. She was going to set up corporations and have it as a tax haven, blah, 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 blah. And she was scared to drive on the road, and she was a friend. And so she was going to pay for my ticket, my hotel room, and my girlfriend's ticket and hotel room. And my girlfriend, actually, she really needed to have a break, so because she was a great woman, but she would always sabotage. And I was getting tired of it, and she was constantly wanting to pick a fight. And I kept saying, listen, we can have sex without fighting, and I don't want to fight. I'm not a fighter, unless there's something to really fight about. But whether I, dried the plate the right way or put the silverware in the, right place, no, these aren't things to fight about. And you're just sublimating the real issues. And so why don't we talk about the real issues? And I don't want to talk about that. So I thought if we went to Ireland and I took her to some pretty heavy places, but she went right in with the corporate clan. And so I was just the chauffeur pretty much. But we went to all these towns, that I knew well, that were these little teeny towns that were nice, back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They had, B&Bs and nice pubs and always music and great crafts and, great wool and sweaters and shillelaghs and you name it. And we went, and all those stores had been purchased by corporations, and all of the sweaters and shillelaghs were made in China. And they were putting in a major highway. They had a highway on the East Coast coming out of Dublin, going straight to Northern Ireland. And so the lorries and the trucks, I mean, interstate, and we went halfway up there and then took a left heading west. And we went to this place where there is where Archie and I discovered a buried pyramid. And Archie got the government to dig it up and make it into a special place. And so they couldn't build, condos on it. And so we went there, and it's kind of in the middle of Ireland, right? And there is a major road that goes from, the east side over to the west side. And we were told to do that. I wanted to show them the site. And we went there, and, they didn't build condos on it, but they should have, because it was, totally tourist out. And, tourism is terrorism, that's what it's about. And I'm sad to say that I'm the guy. There's a book, I forgot the guy's name, but it's a autobiography of a corporate hitman. He worked for the IMF, and he would go to these countries that had, it's very interesting in Africa, any country that has no resources whatsoever, they have peace, and they have a fairly good government, and everyone's kind of getting educated, and everyone's kind of got health care. But you go to the places that they got diamonds and golds and, oh man, rare earth elements and oil. That's the Central Republic of Democracy, whatever they call that place, where it's constant war. It's been war since the Dutch were there. That's where the Zulu thing went down. Anyway, and that's what Northern and, Republic of Ireland, that conflict is about, And so all the years that I've traveled the globe, and I would be the first white boy there and have a great time. 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, Sandals is there, and the Hyatt is there, and then when they constantly go, and the terrorists blew up the hotel, that's why, because they're responding in kind. Tourism is terrorism. So my deep green that I found 20 years ago, driving on this little county road between ETSU and App State, where I was lecturing at both, and I found a really beautiful little spot, and I bought it because it was ridiculously cheap. I had the money, and now it's there's one little county road, and those two places that used to be little towns. Johnson City used to be it was a pretty big city because it's a railroad city, so it always was a transportation hub. And 40 and 26 kind of run by it, so it had interstates. And but App State, not so much. Up in Boone, North Carolina, it was a little teeny town in a beautiful. They built the East Coast beautiful, this beautiful valley, and it was lined by beautiful orchards, and honeysuckles were everywhere. Lilac were everywhere, and the smell of honeysuckle and lilac were everywhere. And that school had about 800. It was a teacher's college. Now it's way up in the mountains up there in North Carolina, and some guy built a ski resort because it snows and it's high and it's good skiing. And that school, somebody in the state legislature of North Carolina decided to make it a trendy hipster college where they don't really teach the kids anything, but the kids get to go skiing all the time, and spring and summer, it's there's loads of water, so there are all these rushing rivers for all these kayakers, and there's all these the AT is there, and the Blue Ridge Parkway is there. And a lot of kids go missing there. It's really interesting about, you guys ever watch Buffy, the Vampire Slayer? And when that little town, Sunnydale, California, or wherever she was one of these, crossroads of evil and good. And, the Hellmouth was in her high school. Her principal was the devil. Everyone thinks her principal is the devil, and the college was where the Hidden Hand had their laboratory, and they were going down into the Hellmouth and bringing out demons and playing with their DNA and making them into super soldiers. Well, that's App State, straight up, and ETSU is not in the mountains. I mean, it's in the hills, but not the mountains. And it is a very squirrel. There is some pretty intense stuff. And the whole thing about the Blue Ridge Mountains is that they run from Georgia. I mean, they actually run from Africa to New York, Canada. But where they really pop up is between Georgia and DC. And and they still kind of rabble through Pennsylvania up into upstate New York where the Berkshires are and that kind of stuff. It's the same mountain range. But all of those mountains, it is honeycombed with underground bases. Now there are underground facilities that were there since time immemorial, since the the Anunnaki, because they honeycombed that shit out for looking for the gold, and that's what the Anunnaki came here for, was gold. Best way to heal a rash that I got from walking through grass and wheat. Well, let's see. Again, I am not prescribing anything, but first off, what kind of response are you getting? What kind of rash is it? Is it a big bumpy thing, lumpy stuff, or is it oozy stuff, or is it fire engine red hot stuff? And grasses and wheat, there are a lot of little bugs that hang in those things that would bite you, right? Now, if the grass was switchgrass, and that's like walking through razor blades. So, and wheat can be the same way. So you might have micro cuts, and you might have, funk that got into the micro cuts. So what's it looking like? Lumpy, rashy, fire engine red. Oh, lots of red, itchy bumps across. Well, that doesn't sound good. Now, one of the things you can, it's on your chest. Is that where it's at? How did it get on your chest? You wearing a shirt, right? When you ever go out there in the woods, you should cover up. I always cover up. Even if I'm wearing shorts, I will wear high socks, to the top of my knees. Oh, you laid down to sunbathe. Shirtless. Okay. And I assume you didn't have a blanket either. You just laid in the grass, right? So one of the things you could do is take a bath in, nice warm water, not too hot, not too cold, just warm, and put oatmeal in there, right? And get in the oatmeal, right? And wait till the water goes from being, warm, almost hot, not quite, but warm, to cold. And then get out and leave the oatmeal on, right? For at least an hour-ish or so, right? And you should also, if you have any over-the-counter antihistamines, Benadryl, Benylin, any of that stuff. Because if it's an allergic reaction, the antihistamine will do the best, right? Now, pussy doesn't sound good. That's an infection. You might sprinkle a little golden seal powder into the oatmeal, and a drop or two of grapefruit seed oil. And, golden seal is great anti-inflammatory and anti, infection kind of thing. And grapeseed oil is very, anti-fungus, and very astringent. Both those are, and that's why it's good to put it in a bath, and then get in and along with the oatmeal. And the oatmeal will absorb anything, bring whatever's on just underneath in the fascia out. Right? Again, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not prescribing anything. These are just if you went online, you would see these things there. So I'm just telling you what I'm reading online here. And if it doesn't clear up in a day or two, and you should be taking a lot of vitamin C, 1,000 milligrams a pop. Go to your drugstore or your herb place or your supermarket and buy 1,000 milligrams, a jar of them, and just pop them. And vitamin C is one of the great things in that you can take a lot of supplements, and a lot of them, if you take too much, they're bad. E, A, D, a whole bunch. If you took mega doses, not good. Whereas vitamin C, pretty much you just piss. What your body doesn't use, you piss out. So vitamin C is, and drink a lot of water. Right, you're just a bag of water, so you need to flush whatever's in there out. So those are what I can say. Give that a try. Tipperary. Oh, I love Tipperary. Jamie, good to see you, bud. Tipperary. What is the county that's in the mountains? Tipperary is kind of in the mountains, right? It's not like Limerick or Galway that's right on the water. Sligo, that's it. Kerry, yes. I love Kerry. All the Kerryman jokes. But I love those because that's where the old crone kind of was in Kerry. Maybe in Sligo, but it was along the west coast. We took this road that just shot up into the mountains like a rocket ship. And the first 6 miles, there was a cliff on one side that you looked down towards Skibbereen. It was like a sheer cliff. And the road itself was like maybe a foot and a half wider than her car. So if a truck was coming down, forget about it. No trucks were supposed to ride on those things. But I once was riding a horse through the side neck of the woods, and I watched this guy in a fancy car come zipping up that rocket ship hill, and there was a big lorry, and the only lorry truck was up at the top of that hill was a pub that allegedly was at the highest, it was the highest pub in Ireland. And is that in Tipperary or is that in Kerry? Glorious day here. Yep. Everyone thinks Ireland is gloomy and gray and, not so much. It's more or less that's the East Coast. It's facing the North Sea. It gets that North Sea weather. Whereas the West Coast is right on the Gulf of Mexico. People, in the wintertime, I used to go swimming in the Rings of Kerry, I would take the kids there. Kerry. Okay. And we would, and they couldn't believe that we could. They lived right. They grew up there. They were born there. They had never frigging swam in the Rings of Kerry. Yes. So it was like 30 miles away. Yes, we would take the bus along the West Coast Road from what was the little town I was in? It starts with a G. It's a fishing village, and goes straight from the ocean. And there's these meadows, and then bingo, there's the mountains, and go straight up. Glendore, that's it. So they were all from Glendore. We get on the bus, and we go towards Skibbereen, and we would get off at the Rings of Kerry, And then we'd walk a mile and a half to 2 miles to the first ring. And they couldn't believe, and that was the warmest one. And they couldn't believe it. We'd go swimming in the wintertime, you know. 'Cause it never really got cold there, you know. So, yes, well, a northeaster would come in and it'd be cold and sleety and icky, and it never got below 40 something. And the Gulf of Mexico was right there. That was warm water. Mention. Oh, yep, County Cork. Yep, yep, yep. Close to 11. That's my favorite neck of the woods. That part of the coastline and how it goes straight up into the mountains and up into those mountains. And my girlfriend, the doctor of that town of Glendora, she had a great little Gulf Jetta, Volkswagen, and it got like 50 miles per gallon. It was a diesel, and she had it. She was a pretty good mechanic. She had it all tuned up, and that sucker ran fast, and it was pretty amazing. A liter of diesel at the time cost almost $4 a liter. That's like a third of a gallon, and we were paying at the time probably 60 cents a gallon for gasoline. And the other thing that was, and Glendora, so she was a doctor, and the old crudgery guys would come in and try to, fool around with her, and I would, the main thing she wanted was a boyfriend to keep the other crusty guys away, but she also wanted a fun-loving guy like me, and she wanted a guy to take care of her two boys, and because they were like Romulus and Remus. Her sister always was, how Superman is the Bizarro Superman and Clark Kent. Her sister was the Bizarro version of her, meaning she went off to England and went to Oxford and became a doctor and came back to Ireland. Her sister went to London and got into drugs. My girlfriend had a baby with a African prince, and her son was like, he looked like Obama. He was an African prince, and her sister had a baby with a Jamaican drug dealer, right? And so when the kid was about 2 and she couldn't take it anymore, she just dropped him off at my girlfriend's, and that was about 3 years before I showed up. So her son was about 7, and his cousin was about 4.5, 5. And the younger one was a gangster. I mean, unbelievable, straight up gangster, right? And the older one, my girlfriend's son, was, a prince. He really was. A really well-behaved, really smart, loved reading books. Whereas the other kid wanted to steal, rape, pillage, and they were like brothers, and so it was really interesting. So the real deal is, the first time we met, and Archie and the old crone put us together. They took us. We're gonna go visit a friend of ours. We went there, and the doc, we went, and it was like on a Sunday, I think, and he said she didn't have infirmary calls, and so basically we had a nice little supper. It's like lunch, and we she had really great bread, the white flour, the traditional Irish bread, soda bread, right? And all these other great little things that were just traditional. Goose pate that she made from killing the goose, and really great food. And she had poutine. She brewed up herself, and she had, she was a pharmacologist. She had some really tasty things that she had baked. So, and she came from the school of the old crone. She had her 3 pots on the wood stove, but not with the kids around. So, bottom line, so we had this really nice lunch, and the old crone basically threw the kids in her. She, you'd think the old crone had a used car dealership, because she had an XKE, she had a Land Rover, she had a van, a combi, and she had a big military truck and a few other things. And so anyway, she had a combi, and she basically threw the kids in there, gave them a thermos of something to drink, and they were like asleep. And so we had this great meal, and they told stories about her and me. And we had a grand old time for about 2 or 3 hours. And then we sat on the porch and smoked the old crone's pipe. And then she had this great Ashmere clay pipe. And why it's so long is, by the time that smoke gets to you, it's cooled off, doesn't burn. It's tasty. It's yummy. So we smoked up a bunch of and then Archie said, "Why don't we take the boys to the Rings of Kerry for a swim?" And she said, "Oh, we'll go." And they said, "No, you stay here with Al. You're getting along so good." So the boys were gone. We walked. She had a beautiful path that went. Her house was like right near Glendore, right near the ocean, and she had this gigantic meadow up behind her house, and that her stone house had to be, 500-600 years old. And she had some bee houses up. So let's show you the bee houses. She went up there, and she had a really beautiful circle, and we did some ceremony, and that was it. We were like, stone cold, So she goes, let me give you a massage. And I said, no, let me give you a massage. And she goes, oh, yeah, sure, please. So I did. And she was like, because I'm quite the masseuse. And I put her in another state between all the stuff that we had eaten, drank, and smoked. And then I did my shamanic thing on her. She was like, yo. She goes, you're better than the old crone. I said, well, she started me off. So anyway, I we went back. She goes, well, okay, let me take you back to my infirmary, and I have a really nice massage table. Yes, you did a nice job on the floor, but I want to put you on my massage table and give you a massage, and then I want you to do me again on that massage table. So yeah, that's sure. Let's go. So we did that, and anyway, we long story short, ended up in her bedroom, and she had a really beautiful bedroom, right facing the ocean, and you had the east and the west, and you saw it all, and it was an amazing view, and the east was behind us, but the way the house was situated, by I don't know, 8 o'clock in the morning, the sun would come over that mountain and just shine. If you were sleeping past 8, the sun would come straight into into her bedroom. And so anyway, that was it, and that was Archie and the old crone's plan. And so they got back just before nightfall, which was way long enough time for us to have loads of fun and take a number of showers, go swimming, do more fun, more massage, drink more poutine, just have a grand old time. And we started to make dinner, And dinner is less of a meal than supper. So she had a really nice garden, and so she had picked fresh potatoes, and pulled up carrots and there was cauliflower, and she had a bunch of stuff in her cellar that she brought up, and we made a nice curry, right? Vegetable curry, and I was just about ready, and the boys, between the stuff the old crone gave them, and they didn't drive to someplace to go swimming. They parked, walked like 4 or 5 miles, and then went swimming, and then turned around and walked. So the boys were like, "I'm going to sleep," So again, we had a nice evening without the boys. They conked out, and Archie and the old crone left me there with her, and then I spent almost a year there. And again, I would have stayed there, but what happened was she was a great woman. I'm sure she's still a great woman. And we made a great team in that town. She was the doctor, and they didn't have a priest, so I became their priest, and I was the best priest because I didn't take money from them, and I didn't make them, we prayed together, and I said, do 10 Our Fathers and 15 Hail Mary. No, we prayed together and went into state and partied. I was the priest that partied, that wasn't, the creepy priest, so, and I was their shrink, and that's what your priest's supposed to be, And so we had a great time. And you didn't make money, but everybody, brought your food and stuff and fixed your water heater and, stuff like that. And hey there, buddy. Well, Johnny Boy is coming down. So, huh?
How are you doing?
I'm doing a live chat.
Okay.
Talking to kids from Ireland.
That's great.
Yep. Anyway, so how you doing? You relaxed? Feeling good?
Yeah, I feel pretty good.
Is that coffee?
Yes.
Is there any more?
I have a big thing of it upstairs.
Oh, I could use a cup. Oh. What time did Dana say she'd get here?
11:30 to 12.
Yeah. It's only 11:18.
11:30 to 12.
Yep. So it's all good. So let's see.
We both have Ireland. You lived in Ireland.
Yeah.
With your parents growing up for a while, right?
No.
You didn't? Oh.
No. My parents took me to Ireland the first time when I was 16 for about a month. But after that, I was smitten. I kept going back on my own. My parents never did. My dad almost bought a house there, and he should have.
My dad's Irish.
Has he gone to Ireland?
Yeah, they visited sometimes.
They still got family there?
Yeah, I think they still have a farm there.
Holy moly.
Yeah. In
What?
Tipperary?
Yeah. Oh, we should go.
I'd like to.
Let's go.
I'd like to visit, and Italy. Just for me, I'd like to go to southern Italy, Sicily, where it's really warm.
All right, well, let's go.
Okay.
This winter, forget California. Let's go to Sicily.
But I gotta make money.
Okay.
Maybe if we start doing videos more again and it gets big, then that'll be good.
Okay, let's do it. Yep. Let's see. We are a national-minded group, nonviolent. I hate how people have, back in the day, I used to be a liberal. Not really. Not once I learned what a liberal is? Someone who feels guilty about being racist, right? And then I was a progressive. I'm moving forward. I'm being progressive. You can't do that. Those guys are chuckleheads. And, I was a there are no conservatives, they're neoconservatives, which are Nazis, and in a lot of places in this world, if you're nationalistic, you're basically a Nazi, and Shaman, you're no Nazi, either are you, Jamie, and um, so
Yeah, that's Jamie Rubis or Hillier Rubis.
no, it's a different Jamie. Different Jamie. There are about 5 different Jamies who watch this.
Sometimes I think he's from Ireland. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Jamie Hilliard. Yeah, I think he's actually from Canada, but I'm not sure. So that's why I keep using the term all our relations. Everybody, because one of the major tools the hidden hand uses is the other. Just look at what Donald Trump. The United States has used the other since inception. When Chris got here, and he nearly died, and the Indians saved him. He said, "These guys are great. They're smart. They're good looking. They're tall. They're noble. They're generous. They'll make great slaves. With 200 soldiers and muskets, I can conquer the whole continent." And that's the problem. That's nationalism right there. Guns and let's kill everyone. And no. Now, if you are a person who believes in your traditions, that you're coming from the good old days, well, then you're a bard. Call a spade a spade. You're a bard. And that's what, and violence, violence is, when you attack the innocents, that's violent. When you're protecting yourself, that's a different story, And that's why diplomacy, but see, we use diplomacy as a battle axe, look what we're doing to Cuba and to Venezuela and to, Iran. And these are all places that have great resources, and we want it. So, we're starving their people. We are, no, it's like a problem. So, 58 going on 14. Yep. I don't even know how to do this, Jamie. So if I blocked you, it's either I did it by hitting the wrong button without even knowing it, because I've done that, and so, buddy, I'm never. Well, that's very hospitable, James. Yeah, we will come. I got to get being a homeless guy, it's hard to have paperwork. I'm going to. Jamie, see if you can, adopt me or something so I don't have to get a passport. I'd love an Irish passport. Okay, I'll look at the comments. Yeah, if you guys would comment more, I would look at them. How do I look at? Can I look at the comments while we're chatting? I have no idea what I'm doing. If you haven't figured that out already, and it's I've run my whole life that way. There's certain things I know what I'm doing. As an electrician, I know what I'm doing. As a lighting designer, I know what I'm doing. As a shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic alchemist, I know what I'm doing. As a scholar, I kind of know what I'm doing. As a writer, I think I know what I'm doing. I'm glad to be known as a cut and paste man. Have you guys gone to my xratted.blogspot.com? Yeah. Oh, wow, wow, wow. Oh. Well, I am an African American that is melanin challenged. Right. So, did you guys look at? A friend of mine I'm helping run for state legislator, and so we had her first kickoff of the scene, and she's, the election's in November, so we have August, September, October, November. So I'm going to probably stick around a little bit more, though I am going to go to the deep green for, August. And I'll come back early September. And so I got a good 3 weeks now to help them organize, get it together, get them moving, get the mow going. And then I'll go away for 3 or 4 weeks. And I'll do ceremony. And that's the best thing I can do. And I'm trying to put together the Artist Trust Traveling Video Art Circus Freely Inquiring Society. So that's my summer and fall motif. Right? And guys, when you're thinking you're nationalist, don't, cut in. It's really bad. What makes America great? Not Donald Trump. It is the fact we are made up of so many different people. We are so, just different. And that is the best part. It's not our industry. It's not our banks. It's not our this. It's the people. And every time we try and shut the borders down, and this ain't the first time, we do it like every 40 years or so. It kind of restricts our country. And then we realize, oops, we shouldn't do this. And we open it up again and we get great. Look at the guy who invented Apple. His parents came from Syria, I think. The guy who, did Google, he came from India. It just goes on and on like that. And color should not be, something that manifests any kind of thought idea. So if that little crack about, I have to wait till behind the queue of the African continent for a passport, actually, I would say most Africans don't want to leave Africa, because Africa is the new, you got it from me, if I could, I would go to Africa and that's the new, forget China as the new ruler of the planet, right? No, Africa is, we're all from Africa anyway. So, yes. The Trotsky, who started, where Trotsky came from? Came from the Rothschilds. The whole Russian social Marxist thing was a joke, to basically the Tsar. The Russian people are some of the greatest people on the planet. They really have it going on. And the Tsar was starting to realize, because he backed us during the Civil War. And so why the North won was thanks to the Tsar. Anyway, he was trying to go that way, right? And then he died, and his cousin or whoever, who was a real moron, tried to go back in the old days where, put him back on the farm. And Mr. Rothschild lent that guy a lot of money because he was in a couple of wars. And that's when Rothschild got so, into Russia, and then realized, well, these guys got a lot of everything going on. I'm going to take it over. And so that's why, right at the height of World War One, and Russia was our ally, he ferments a revolution in Russia. And it only took place in 5 cities, not the whole freaking country. It took Joe Stalin about 20 years to kill enough people to get everybody on board. He killed 60 million people, almost as many as the Nazis did of the German Russia. If the Nazis had gone in there when they came into Russia through the Ukraine, and the Ukrainians met the Nazis with flowers, right? And wow, you're going to liberate us. And if the Nazis had just let the Ukrainians fight the Russians, gave them guns and go at those guys, because they were motivated. They hated the Russians. It would have been a different story. But no, what did they do? They started killing the Ukrainians. And the Ukrainians said, well, we hate the Russians, but these Nazis are sick fucks, man. We'll go back with Joe for this, right? So that was the problem. And if you guys have ever read any of Joseph P. Farrell's books, you should. He is a great historian of that time, and he shows how the Nazis actually had the atomic bomb, and the bomb we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki were Nazi bombs, because we quite hadn't figured out the trigger for the bomb. The plutonium bomb you could do because it was just, but the U-235 bomb, the shooting, a lot of things had to happen like in a nanosecond. And anyway. Yep, started wars. Yeah. Why do you think we're having all these wars going on right now? And the Rothschilds ain't the hidden hand. The Rothschilds is the poster boy of the hidden hand. It's Rothschilds are the powers that shouldn't be, because they're really the Khazarian mob. That's who those guys are. Mr. Rothschild, he isn't a Hebrew. He's a Jew. He comes from the Anunnaki. He's one of those Zionist guys, And they ain't. They were the guys who were putting the Hebrew nation into the ovens. Yes, and that's what humans is about. I'm your basic homeless guy, so I have to, and I'm sick too. So, like tomorrow, I'm gonna have my feet operated on, and on Tuesday, I'm gonna have my gums worked on, and a week from next Thursday, I'm gonna have my eyes operated on. Anyway, that's a lot of paperwork, right? Because I have no money to pay for any of this. So, and the only way you can get real health care in this country is either be super rich or have nothing, really. And then, so the guy who takes care of my eyes, every time he does that, that's $3,800, right? But I luckily, my doctor is the guy who invented the process, owns the hospital, and I amuse him. And I've given him a lot of heads up information about him and his family and everything else about, the shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic, alchemical dynamic of his family. And so he put me, so this process I go through, there's still I'm a lab rat. And so so I had to sign away my eyeballs to him. And every 60, 90 days, he does this procedure on me. And what's really great is that because I'm a lab rat, they have to take everything about me, so they not only look at my eyeballs, they look at everything else in my body, scans and blood tests and, expensive stuff, So I get a full bill of health every time I, go see this guy every 60, 90 days. So I have a lot of things going on in me that can go south, like my feet. Um, they start turning black. And when you have diabetes, that's not a good thing. You can lose your leg that way. Well, and I was out in the woods too. I had no access to my doctor, so I had to take care of myself. And the medicinal things I did for myself, kind of, and the basic thing, I went and found some dry socks. And, but the other stuff, kind of, it's way better. So when I go see him, he'll just go, oh, this ain't that bad. So anyway, paperwork is, I'm exposed to it. So I'm part of the machine, but I'm like the ghost in the machine, right? So every time they make me fill out 50 reams of documents, and every time they want me to sign it, I say, okay, well, first off, you have to read it to me. What? I said, well, look at me. I'm wearing 3 pairs of glasses. I can hardly see. So you read it to me, and we'll say, well, I don't have the time. So you want me to fill these 50 pages out? Let's sit down and do it. And as I do it, I do my little shrinky thing on that person, right? So by the time I leave, they're crying and they're hugging me, going, oh, then they take care of me like I was their kid, or their grandpa. So that's how I get through the bureaucratic morass. I'm always happy. Yep, and the invitation is all of you, all 7 of you, and the rest of the cadre, and anybody else who's watching this. It's pretty amazing how many people actually watch it, but don't take part in the chat. Hey, you are not allowed in the house. Out. Ugh. That's Daisy. Ugh. Ugh. Daisy, you're supposed to stay right there. The big guy, the child, he stays there. Hey. Yes, I'm there. They're both owned by other people who ignore them. I come here and give them love. Sit. See how good they are? You're good. Yes, you are. I don't even have to give you any food. You're so good. Yes, you're the best. You are. Yes, you are. Love you. Love you. No, see, he doesn't go past. You don't go, right? Good boy. Daisy, she will go in for a run. See where I'm at. Okay, I love you guys. You stay right there. Stay there. Relax. Yes, yeah, relax. Yeah. Anyway, and this is the kitchen. Must have put my thumbprint on the lens there. Is that any better? A little better. A little less greasy. So that's, this is a school. We're up in the mountains. This is John has the most beautiful place, right? I spent 15 years here, and then I sold it to John. And now I'm his bud, and, cheap cook and bottle washer. And when he starts to take it, not appreciate, I go to the Deep Green for a month, And then he has no one to talk to, and no one to be, and no one to get his stuff, and no one to make his food, and no one to be. I used to have the same job for rich people. I used to get $1,800 a week doing the same thing: cooking, listening, talking. Trying to get them out of their shell, out of the house, out of their whatever. Shalansha, I love you, buddy. Revisionist. Well, then you should feel right at home with the rest of the corporate world because they're revisionists big times. But again, one man's revisionist is another man's scholar. One man's scholar is another man's terrorist. It's like. So go, Jamie, go read my stuff at xratted.blogspot.com. Okay. Aiden. There's 6 of you there. There's Celtic Shaman. There's Aiden. There's Jamie. Who else is talking? Yeah. So that's why I've gotten involved with finding really good people to run for elected office, right? And I've gotten a bunch of them, right? So I have their ear. So they, take me out to lunch and give me a, gas card every now and then and flip me a few bucks. A fish for, and that's all good. But it's sad. Every single one of them is still that good person, but they have, gone to the dark side, So the 2 people I'm getting to be state legislators, so they'll be hard to switch. It'll be interesting to see what happens. So, and that's why I do what I do, People go, why do you do what you do? I do it because A, it's fun to do. B, it helps people. And C, what else would I do? Would I be like my mom? I have everything my mom has. And the last 10 years of her life, all she did was stay in her lazy boy, look out the window, go, oh, it hurts. Oh, it hurts. Oh, yes, it hurts. But if you focus on the fact that it hurts, and she wouldn't walk. Me, I walk everywhere. Yeah, I got to wear these Frankenstein shoes, But that's why I'm still walking, because I'm walking, and I'm doing, And my mom was a doer most of her life, and she kind of gave it up. Once my parents hit the, bing, 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 the American dream, their business was real successful, made a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. Had kids, all of them worked for them except me. I was the only guy who stayed outside their perimeter. And I said, no, you're not my boss. You are my parents. So anyway, that's the story. We've been talking now for an hour and 8 minutes, so I'm going to kind of say au revoir. I will see you tonight. I will try between 7:30 and 8 p.m. To come back. Okay? I love you guys. You stay well. Be good. Catch you later. Let's see. We're getting towards noonish. I'm going to have a little something to eat myself. Okay. Here we go. Boop, 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 boop.